After a chapter filled with guest appearances which took attention away from the main plot and overall felt a bit unbalanced, will the penultimate episode of a season wow us again? Will Moff Gideon's whereabouts and Elijah Kane's plan finally be revealed? Or will that all be crammed into the season finale? Hi there, it's Micha. If you want to find out, then join me for this review video. The chapter starts with Elijah Kane officially being revealed as Moff Gideon's undercover agent, as she updates him through a Viper Pro droid about the Mandalorian tribes joining forces to free Navarro from the pirates, which apparently threw a wrench into his master plan. While she is supposed to continue with her mission, Gideon will deal with the Mandalorians. We are also shown that the Moff has built Beskar-based suits that could supply a small army. Obviously the reason why Beskar alloy was found in the New Republic prisoner transport shuttle transporting him. And we also see tanks containing humanoid clones. Gideon then talks to the holograms of the Imperial Shadow Council, which connects seemingly autonomous warlords, formerly part of the Empire, into a growing group, planning their resurgence. One of them, Captain Pelion, mentions Grand Admiral Thrawn's immediate return, while Gideon is skeptical about that ever happening and suggests choosing a new leader, for which he clearly has himself in mind. Meanwhile, General Hux is working on Project Necromancer, a cloning exercise for which he requires Dr. Pershing's support. Apparently, hindering that plan was the reason why Gideon had Kane take out Pershing, secretly undermining the other members of the Shadow Council to strengthen his own pull. Moff Gideon then requests resources and reinforcements from the group to deal with the Mandalorians, whose plan to retake their home is jeopardizing the effort of the whole group. So the request is granted, ending the meeting with the words, "Long live the Empire! Long live the Empire!" On Navarro, the two tribes unite, a bit reluctantly, while Greef Karga introduces Din and Grogu to IG-12. The hollowed-out chassis of IG-11, which can be piloted by a small creature like the child. Though Mando thinks Grogu is too young to handle it, the kid, once seated, wouldn't let go. Din, at first not happy about that, soon gives in, partially because the droid allows Grogu to speak, though only the words yes and no. And of course Grogu is up to some shenanigans with his new vehicle.
No. Yes. Hey, Grogu, no. Give it no. Grogu, give it back.
After a welcome feast for the new arrivals, Bo-Katan leads them all to Mandalore the next day, with the main fleet staying in orbit, while a group of volunteers from both tribes does some recon and find the Great Forge, with a plan to bring down the others once it is safe. Down on Mandalore, they run into a large landship with Mandalorians who survived on the surface since the planet was destroyed, and among which are many wounded people. Recognizing Lady Bo-Katan as their leader, they soon join with her group. Later, Bo opens up to the whole group about her biggest failure and Moff Gideon's betrayal. As the planet had fallen, with no chance of survival, she surrendered to Gideon, which is how he ended up with a Darksaber, in exchange for letting all remaining Mandalorians live. But he bombed the now disarmed and helpless cities despite their agreement. Confessing to this makes her feel inadequate. Being taught by his tribe that everyone but them had forsaken the way of the Mandalore, Din tells Bo that he now understands that she was not selfish and uncaring. For him, neither the Darksaber or anyone's bloodline means anything, only honor, loyalty and character. Therefore, he vows to serve her, which helps her to stifle the self-doubt. While the armorer brings the wounded up to the fleet for proper medical support, the group makes it to the Great Forge, after Paz Vizsla and ex-Voves got into a fight, which was broken up by Grogu, and the landship got destroyed by a giant creature. There they are ambushed by Imperial jump troopers with jetpacks and wearing the Beskar armor we previously saw at Gideon's place. Seemingly defeating the attackers, the Mandalorians soon find themselves inside an Imperial starfighter base, lured into a trap. Moff Gideon arrives in Dark Trooper armor, telling them all that he used their planet for its resources to build the next generation of Dark Troopers, using elements of the Jedi, Mandalorians and clones to create a new army that will restore order to the galaxy. While Din is taken prisoner and led away to be debriefed, he also orders an attack on the unexpected fleet in orbit to complete the Mandalorian purge once and for all. This is when Paz Vizsla seals the doors behind him, allowing the others to escape through a hole Bo-Katan cut with her darksaber, while he fights it out with the jump troopers. Though he meant to sacrifice himself, he actually manages to kill them all. But then 3 Praetorian guards appear and quickly overpower him. The episode ends with him, left for dead, lying on the floor. This penultimate chapter, as internet rumors indicated, redeemed recent missteps this season brought on to a certain degree, by being one of the strongest entries so far. Though I am a bit dissatisfied by being right about Bo-Katan's mission being ended after only bringing home her former team and no other Mandalorians in exile, at least the plot thickens now and the story progresses. And well, we do get some more survivors on the surface. Even though this was one of the stronger chapters this season, there are some things worth discussing. Let's start with the redeeming elements. This episode did not step into the same trap as previous ones by showing us all the Mandalorians and underwhelming us with their numbers. Instead, only smaller groups were shown, never claiming to be all of them, and for the main story they created a team out of volunteers, which had to be a small one, so circumventing the issue in a logical way, proving that it is possible to avoid the awkwardness we witnessed on Navarro. The next thing is the big feast. Apparently, after previously implying that they would raise the Shriekhawk chicks as foundlings, which everyone thought to be stupid, and myself discussing with a friend that it would have made more sense to later see them on a rotisserie, it kinda looks like this is exactly what happened now. Looks like one of them on that stick, doesn't it? So either I was not getting the joke back in chapter 20, or they changed course. Or it wasn't one of the chicks, but it still satisfied my need for common sense. Okay, what else did I like? It was quite interesting that Din now starts to question his teachings, as the stories about Mandalorians not walking the way were obviously untrue. Might this lead to him also questioning wearing the helmet all the time? Would be nice. I liked how he supported Bo-Katan where he can, and how he swore allegiance, especially in a moment where she needed it. Like I said before, this might develop into a closer relationship, with Grogu maybe getting a mum as well. Some part of me would love that for Din, while another questions if that would serve the story. I would be open to it though. I think it is interesting that they mentioned Grand Admiral Thrawn, who is well known from the animated shows. Note to self, get to watch those shows already. They are becoming more and more relevant. His arrival though was spoiled by the Ahsoka trailer a few days ago. Maybe they should have posted it a few days later. Last episode I was wondering why they make retaking Mandalore such a big thing, as there is no one to oppose them to their and our knowledge. This was answered by Moff Gideon's presence, though they didn't anticipate it, which still made this build-up a bit questionable. And while in the last episode I felt reminded a bit of Blade Runner, the opening showing Elia Kane on Coruscant is doubling down on it, looking like images taken straight out of a classic, down to the color palette. Nicely done. And we still don't know what her current mission involves, likely to be revealed in the next and final chapter of this season. Now let's look at the things that I wish they would have done differently. I'm still worried about Grogu. They really seem to have no idea what to do with him. So now they plugged him into IG-11, now IG-12, again feeling more like a gimmick. They also don't seem to be able to decide if they want to portray him as being more mature or completely childish, because him steering the droid supports the former, while him continuously hitting the yes button
Yes, 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 yes.
contradicts this, as well as his behavior in the marketplace. I didn't like the whole idea much, similar to Din's opinion on it. I really hated the fact how they disrespected IG-11 and his sacrifice by it. Either bring him back or leave him rest in peace, but don't use his chassis as a vehicle. Really hated that. I hope this is just temporary. I still think they will bring him back, for which I think they will use the Nepenthe, even though I think that solution would feel too constructed, as I said in my video for the previous chapter. Only time will tell. Like in Season 2, I felt a little bit underwhelmed by the fighting scenes. They were well done, don't get me wrong, but that is not what I mean. We have here a group of Mandalorians, allegedly the best warriors in the galaxy, and what we see is mostly blaster shootouts, like in any other fight, with the occasional jetpack usage sprinkled in. I would have expected more pizzazz. And last not least, I would have expected to see more of the Darksaber. Bo-Katan, you wanted it, now you have it, so friggin' use it. Why not cut through the gate to help Din when he was attacked, instead of just watching? Especially since they all later tried to attack nevertheless. Why not use it in the big fight against the Jump Troopers? As far as I know, it can't cut through pure Beskar, but at least try, as the troopers may not use the metal in a pure form. Which also made me ask, what kind of weapon are the Praetorian Guards using to slowly but steadily pierce through past this armor? Would surely come in handy. And with that being said, let's go into the rating, but before we go there, let me ask you to like and share this video if you enjoyed it so far. And if you are no subscriber yet, maybe consider to change that. By also hitting the notification bell, you will get a heads up for most of my new videos. Now for the rating. I will again get straight to it. The technical merits of this chapter were strong as always. This time we didn't have a side quest, but were purely serving the main storyline. It avoided most of the mistakes some of the weaker chapters did recently, but also wasn't perfect. For me, mostly for not using the Darksaber where needed and reducing IG-11 to a toy for Grogu. Still, this episode made up for a lot of the most current missteps and brought the season back into the right direction, though not completely back on track. It makes us anticipate the season finale though, so it fulfilled its main objective. I'm rating this chapter with 8.5 out of 10 points. I wanted to go for 8 out of 10 first, but as I was surprised how much Paz Vizsla's sacrifice moved and impacted me, this emotional aspect earned this entry another half point. I'm looking forward to the next episode, hoping it will be fantastic, because otherwise my anticipation for the next season could be clouded. I have heard from many friends that they are disappointed with this season, and Neil, a Star Wars superfan, is close to giving up on the whole franchise. Well, I am not a superfan but a great fan, and I don't consider it to be that severe, but there were for sure some really weak elements this year. Still no comparison to the Obi-Wan series, which one hardly could even take seriously. What about you? Was it a redeeming entry for you, or were you never disappointed so far? Are you also close to dropping out? If so, what was the moment the show jumped the shark for you? Whatever you like to share, let me know in the comments. So much for now, see you next time and thanks for watching. There they are ambushed by being right about Bo-Katan's mission. Pierce through passes armor. Proving that it is possible to avoid the awkwardness. Still no comparison to the Obi-Wan series,